Good evening again. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm still Linda Munger. I am going to be playing the role of Q&A traffic cop up here, amongst other things. I'm a former Wall Streeter, a co-producer of Equity, and very importantly, a long-standing member of the Avon Theater Advisory Board. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting our film and for supporting this wonderful community gem that we have here in the theater. As you already know, the two reasons that we have this wonderful theater in our midst are Deborah Royce and Chuck Royce. And they have been tireless supporters of Equity from the day I mentioned it to them back when the idea of being in theaters throughout the entire country was merely a dream. So up here on stage with me, starting at the far end, we've got Candy Straight. Candy is the executive producer of Equity, a 27-year veteran of Wall Street, and I think Sarah and Alysia would probably be the first to say they wonder how Equity would have ever gotten made without her. She's been a real force of nature. Audrey McNiff is she is a fellow co-producer, a good friend, and a 29-year veteran of Wall Street, including as a Goldman Sachs partner, and she happens to be a local like myself. Now, for the two women who need no introduction, Alysia Reiner and Sarah Megan Thomas came up with the concept. They came up with the concept of Equity. They wrote the story with screenwriter Amy Fox. They produced the movie, and as you now know, they star in it. And if that isn't enough, their true starring roles are in real life, where they are mothers to young children. So they are actually doing it all at the same time. Hats off to them. I don't think they go to bed. I don't think they sleep. So now, to you, the audience. Please make sure that I can see you as best possible. We have spotters in the audience who will bring in microphones over. So the important thing is that you wait until you've got a microphone before asking your question. Okay. Any takers?
I'm just curious, having, well, first of all, I grew up, graduated from college in the mid-50s, and at that time, drinking was certainly a large part of the television industry where I worked, of the ad industry, and I was really kind of surprised at the amount of alcohol consumed in the movie. And I just wondered if that's part of the Wall Street culture today.
I feel like the actual Wall Streeters should answer that question. But in our interviews, yeah, it is a part of the culture today. I'm actually really, I'm getting a lot of nods. Yeah, that is the truth of the world still till today.
I would say that alcohol was probably more prevalent in my earlier career in the 80s, and by the 90s, people were working so much harder. They were never leaving their desk, so alcohol became much less a part of the whole Wall Street experience, at least for me.
It's hard for me to answer that because I don't drink, but that's the truth. I think that, I don't think it was overdone in the movie, but I think it's there. And I will note that sometimes in the movie, because Sarah plays someone who's pregnant, people have asked, should she be having, and of course, in the beginning, you see her pouring out her drink, so they're careful.
Hi, I'm fascinated by the fact that you mentioned the idea for the story came about between the two actresses. So my question is, are you both friends? And how long have you been friends? And how could you describe the germ, basically the germ of the idea? How did it come about between the two of you? And the writing process, obviously collaborating, and then you collaborated with Amy, but how did the idea actually come about?
Well, first of all, yes, we are friends, and we've been friends for a very long time. We met on stage together in a theater production I produced where I cast Alysia to play my best friend. And not only is she a good friend, but she's also someone that I know who really gets things done, which is important when you're a producer. And in terms of the idea, I had done a film before this, sorry guys, I have a little cold, so my voice is not great, where I didn't have a producing partner. And when I was looking at the next idea for a film, the first person I thought of was Alysia. And then in terms of this idea, for me, if I'm going to tell a story, it really has to fit 3 criteria. And this is, the first is it has to have strong roles for women. The second is I have to think I can sell it and it's going to be commercial and make my investors their money back. And the third is it has to be something we've never seen before. And the reason for that is press. You get more press if you have a new idea. And living in New York, I know several people who either straight from the college I went to Wall Street and quit very, very quickly, or still are on Wall Street, some of them women. And I heard their stories, and I love Wall Street movies, but I kept thinking, where are these women in the Wall Street movies I like, and where is the real Wall Street in the movies I see? Because I don't see strip clubs, I don't see $10,000 spending bills at client dinners of the stories I've heard. So, and then when I started Googling it, I realized it hadn't been done before. And so I took this idea to Alysia, and then I'll let her tell the rest.
And I said no. Not really. Kind of. When she first suggested this, I was hesitant because it wasn't a story that I necessarily spoke to my heart. My previous background around producing was a short film that I made after my dad died, and that was all about grief and loss. And I made it because people were afraid to talk about grief and loss, and I was really interested in telling stories that other people are afraid to tell and that incite conversation. And that, to me, was what really impacted me about this was when we started talking about it, when I started talking to friends who work in this industry or friends who consult in this industry, the stories that I told that had never been told before. And the inequities not only spoke to my heart, but spoke very deeply to my heart and made me go, oh my God, not only do I want to make this movie, but we have to make this movie to tell these women's stories and hopefully help change how things are for women in this world. You know, one of our investors talks about the fact that when she started in this industry, she said she would stay in it until things were better for women, and it's been 30-something years later, and it's worse for women now. And what if we could make this sort of what I like to call a stealth bomb social impact movie wrapped around a really impactful, fun, entertaining thriller.
Yes? Oh, hold on. I've got somebody back there. And we'll get a mic up here. So hold that thought. Here he comes. Great,
So,
great.
First of all, thank you so much for making this film, and I think we all really enjoyed it. We're here representing the Mount Holyoke Club of Fairfield Villages, and we're happy to see a couple of our alums had been co-producers. So I'd say we were commenting after the film that it just had such an incredible sense of realism. And you mentioned in a comment earlier about interviews. Can you talk about the research and interview process that you went through to bring that realism to the screen?
Sure. We interviewed, I would say, countless women, including all the women on this panel. And that, to me, as an actor, that's the most delicious thing about acting is interviewing. And then it was, now it was my job twofold to do that as both actress and producer. And the stories we heard and the, I would say the patterns we heard really shaped the script massively. Our amazing, amazing, amazing screenwriter, Amy Fox, also did her own interviews, and we interviewed people together. And it's, it was so important to us that it be based on facts and based on real women's stories. And it's been such an outrageous gift and so satisfying to hear people say that it feels so real to them.
Someone wasn't here. There we go. One second. You guys can help with the mic. Great. Thank you.
Hi. So I have, some 36 years on Wall Street. And this movie was built to me as sort of a strong women on the street or strong women in business. And when I watched this, I didn't see sort of any gender thing whatsoever. It was very much great acting, fantastic story. I looked at a prosecutor, I looked at a great older woman on Wall Street, a young aspiring woman on Wall Street, or person, just people. And that was all amazing. The story was fantastic. It really depicted the street very, very accurately. And I thought it was better than Wall Street 2, for example. And it was a fantastic movie, and I'm going to recommend it to all my friends. And one last thing, there was no alcohol on Wall Street, because that's a misnomer.
Anyone else? We've got someone right there.
I really enjoyed the movie, but I wanted to ask you, how did you decide on the ending? Because it was kind of a sort of a twist. How did you decide on that?
That was very stressful. All of us were in the edit room with our amazing editor, Andrew, and me, our director. And we just finished a test screening, one of our test screenings the night before, and the feedback was like, kind of 3 endings, don't buy it, this isn't realistic, because there was another ending, there was more to the movie. We shot another scene on the golf course with Naomi, where she's with her mentor, and you get a sense that they're starting a firm together, and it's incredibly optimistic. And so we had, 3 women in this edit room who really wanted an optimistic ending, and we knew a lot of our investors wanted an optimistic ending, but then audiences really, really, really hated it. And so we just tried it. We chopped it off and we test screened it again, and there was a hugely different reaction. And God bless our investors, because, and actually one of them who's not here tonight, who it was really important to her and she is still getting over it. I don't know if you noticed the graph in the end credits where the stock goes up. That was for her. But God bless our investor group, because they really embraced that this is a movie and ultimately a piece of entertainment, and they gave us the creative license to change the ending.
And I will just add one other. Susan Bevan is not here tonight, but a big member of this community, and threw a phenomenal party for us close by, which is how we met these 2 beautiful women. And so we say a little thank you to her tonight. And tonight we also have in the audience David Allenbeige, who's in the movie and who's also an associate producer and also my husband, and a lot of his family are here tonight, so thank you so much for all coming. And Stephanie Holbrook is here. Yay!
She's a casting director.
And I will just say about the ending, one thing that made me make that chop in my heart was someone said, "Oh, it feels like she's going home to her daddy to save her." And I was like, oh, that's not the message we want to send. And the other piece of it was so many women we spoke to had a very similar trajectory to our hero portrayed in this film.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Okay. How many think she was fired, and how many think she walked off by herself and just quit? How many people think she was fired? Okay. How many people think she walked off? Yeah. Well, let me say that I think it was purposeful that people could make up their own mind. So I decided to ask our screenwriter, and she said she walked off on her own. She wasn't fired. That's what Amy says.
Thank you. Wow. There you go.
Wow. Next.
Hi. I'm just wondering if and what you were trying to comment about relationships between and among women in high-powered situations.
We do get that question, and I think the question was about relationships between women in power. And sometimes we get the more blunt question, which is, do women help other women? And I think the answer is personally that it depends on the woman. I know a lot of women all here who really support women, but we also heard stories, especially in professions where there are not a lot of jobs for women, that some women have this kind of queen bee syndrome. And again, back to entertainment, our job as entertainers is to provoke and choose a path that's the most controversial, because hopefully that will ignite a discussion and, as Alysia likes to say, change things.
I will only add that if those were two men, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And that's the conversation, because the standards for which we put women versus men are different. And that's something to really look at, particularly in our current climate. You know, one of the things we talked about from the beginning is this film coming out when a woman is running for president, and the discussion about women in power and the scrutiny we put women under versus men under, and how appropriate that is.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I agree.
And then you're next.
I agree with what you just said. But what you said about women, you didn't help Naomi. You really sabotaged her. And you were not there to make it easy for her. And also, I was so disappointed at the end when you went to industry, so to speak, to the bank. That was my own feeling. It was personal. I felt that Alysia had so much to give, and I didn't know why that happened, why you decided.
So you'll have to watch our TV series. In reference to women helping other women, as Sarah said, this was a truth that we heard. And it's a movie, and sometimes you make the dramatic choice. Around my character, I will say a couple things. It's a very odd thing being a producer and an actress, because to the core of my soul, I am connected to the woman that I played. So I will say to you, look, I am a mother, and I am married to an artist, and I want her to be able to do whatever she wants to do as an artist, and I want my children to have the best that I can possibly provide. And in my rationalization as Sam, I feel like, well, I'm going to go be in the bank and help the bank be more legit, and I'm going to actually do that. Putting my producer hat back on, I would imagine that it might be a little disenchanting to be that person there, and she may end up leaving. You know, the end of a movie isn't the end of a life. And B, in my fantasy, she actually is a mole for the DA's office at the bank. Watch the TV series and find out.
I just want to defend Sam for a second here, because part of the point of this movie is that speech, and let's talk about money, and what is wrong with a lawyer taking a money job? She's not doing anything illegal. That's my 2 cents.
Right there.
Hi, first of all, I just want to say that we're here representing Linda Munger's book group. And we are very, very proud of her in this movie. It was really extraordinary. I just wanted to, thank you. Congratulations, Linda. I just want to ask you about your choice of Anna Gunn. Brilliant actress. I can't help but look at her and think about Breaking Bad. She was just part of my life for many years in that series, and she did an extraordinary job in this movie. Was she your first choice, or why Anna Gunn? Why not someone else, just out of curiosity?
How about Stephanie Holbrook?
Oh my God, Stephanie, you're here. Come here.
Our casting director.
I'm like, where is she? Let's give her one.
Does anyone have a mic nearby? Or come on up. Yay.
Oh God.
Well, there was, from the beginning of this process, I think a real responsibility to the people who were contributing to the story, the people who have actually lived this existence and been part of this world. And I think everyone on the team, it meant a lot to us to make sure that this was an authentic, someone who could bring the role to life in an authentic way. And who also was recognizable, who a lot of people knew about Anna Gunn from the show. But I think ultimately she was the right choice. She was the person that I think everyone sort of decided was really realistic and an amazing actress and kick ass in those clothes. And yeah, so she's the one. She was the one. I think she pulled it off.
Let me just add that, I asked Anna Gunn why she was interested in this movie, and she said she loved the script, and it was such a great role for somebody like her. And I think that, what Stephanie said, we couldn't have picked anybody better, because she just threw herself into this role, researched it, and I think also had a very good meeting with Mira Menem, who we haven't mentioned, who's our director, that did a spectacular job. So, sometimes you need chemistry, and we had the chemistry there.
Who else? Anyone else? Great. Oh, there's someone way in the back. I don't know if anyone can.
I had a question. In the movie there, I didn't see a lot of sort of harassment. So when you're reading the newspaper, you hear a lot about sexual harassment of women and so on Wall Street. And I didn't see so much of that. Was that a creative decision, or did it not come up in the interviews that you had with people?
I think it depends on how you define harassment, because I felt like personally there was a lot. My character gets kissed by her client, so I would. But again, that's what I think that's such a good question and such an interesting question is why harassment is so difficult to define, because everyone sees it differently. A guy could compliment you and genuinely think he's complimenting you, and it could be a compliment to one woman and sexual harassment to another. So I think it just, the more we can keep having the dialogue, the better it will be for everyone.
Yeah, beautifully said. And the only thing I'll add to that is we certainly, in our interviews, heard much more harassing stories. And sometimes, you don't want to tell those stories because they seem unreal. It's like sometimes life is stranger than fiction, and then it becomes a movie about sexual harassment, and there have been those movies, and that's not the story we wanted to tell.
Over there?
Hi, thank you very much. I thought that was a fantastic movie. So exciting, and I don't know, my heart got going at the end when the stock prices were going to either rise or fall. But I noticed that Sam, your partner, and Aaron, your partners, were pretty much not involved in the movie at all. And I wondered why, and I guess it was by design because you guys are sort of chuckling, so I just thought that was an interesting
Thank you for
aspect.
asking. We shot a lot of our partners. They were all on the cutting room floor. The brilliant Tracy Toms and Nick Gelfus did beautiful work that simply, our first assembly of this movie was almost 3 hours long, and what you just saw was 105 minutes, and we wanted you never to get bored. That's the truth. And again, you're gonna love the TV series.
Thank you.
Who else? Anyone else that we're missing?
Yes, we did just sign with TriStar to develop a TV series of this.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, Linda.
Nobody's thanked Linda. Everyone did this great. She did this great intro for everyone, but let's thank Linda here tonight first.
Thank you. Thank you.
And please get everyone you know to see Equity at the
Yes, please.
Avon. Our regular run starts on Friday, August 26th.
Yes, I will add one other thing. Social media, please, if you like this movie, just put it on your wall on Facebook. Just tell as many people as you possibly can. It does make a huge difference with a tiny indie like this. Go to Rotten Tomatoes, go to IMDb, rate it well. It really does make a huge difference. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, and get home safely.